Everything with Kathy B. Giving you the latest with local and national news. From politics, sports, and religious views. To advertise with Kathy B, go to Kathy B at SourceRadioNetwork.com or Facebook, Kathy B Source Radio Network. Now here's your host, Kathy B.
Good evening, Source Nation, and welcome to Love Zone Mondays. I am your host, Kathy B. We have about 2 hours and 45 minutes before we lose a live feed. Telephone number to reach us tonight is 619-924-0933. Again, 619-924-0933. We have a dynamic show tonight, but before I get started, I want to take a moment to thank our sponsors because we would not be here without them, and they are Blog Talk Radio, Scott Cares Foundation, Red Pill Lifestyle Management and Consulting, Urban Grandstand Digital, Cat Photography, Hitmaster, New Covenant Appraised Worship Center, and PS Photography. Also, you guys know that we've already launched our YouTube series, which is The Great Griot. Now, if you haven't had the opportunity to really spend some time understanding what The Great Griot is, let me just tell you, it's all about African American history, our beautiful history, something that we all need to talk about. You know, it's unfortunate that a lot of our children really don't get it at the elementary level, middle school level, high school level, sometimes not even college. But it's okay because after OK Lachey is putting it down every single Saturday and every Wednesday evening. That's right here on Source Radio Network. You can hear some amazing history and facts. It's all about learning our beautiful culture. Because you're going to learn something. That's right. You're going to learn something today. So check The Great Griot out. It is our YouTube series. Go out to The Great Griot, which you can find that page on Facebook. And then when you go to YouTube, just type in The Great Griot. All of the series that we already ran since its launch, you can catch up with us. But tune in Wednesday night at 8 p.m. and every single Saturday. Well, guys, let me tell you about tonight's show because it is going to be amazing. Now, I have Mr. Eric Terry coming back into the studio with me. Let me tell you, this man is on fire. That's right. He is a marriage coach and author of Real Talk, The Making of a Man. And tonight, Eric and I are going to discuss a chapter in his book, Playing Out a Position. Serious title, right? I cannot wait to speak with him. He is going to be in the studio with me at 6:15. Right now, we're going to take a quick break, but on the other side, Mr. Eric Terry. Welcome to Love Zone Mondays. I am your host, Kathy B. We'll be right back.
We'll be back, Source Radio Network, after this commercial break.
Radio Network is just one of the many platforms that is used to fulfill dreams of our listeners and create a purpose that will impact the lives of our communities, cities, and the world. It is often said that great things will happen when a group of driven people work together to accomplish one goal. We're giving people the opportunity to have a voice, translate words that haven't been heard, and paint pictures that no one has seen. Source Radio Network is fueling your life's purpose. How can you listen? www.blogtalkradio.com/Source Radio.
Hey you, do you know your history? Do you know your culture? We have a beautiful history full of triumph, determination, perseverance, love, hope, faith, family, and community. And as your great griot, I want to share that history with you. A griot? It's pronounced griot, or in English, a griot. It's a West African term for the person who keeps up with the genealogy, the history, the culture, shares the stories of the people, and so much more. We're like a walking library, full of knowledge and ready to share. I'm going to take you into the history and the culture of your people from all over the world. A griot's purpose is to serve the people. That's right. As the great griot, I am here to serve you. Because the more you know, the more you grow. Wait, that's not my quote. Oh well, it's the truth.
The Great Griot, a brand new Black History web series. Check us out online at www.thegreatgriot.com or subscribe to us on YouTube at youtube.com/thegreatgriot.
I want you to know strong. I know you lead the way. Been down for so long, but you made a brighter day. I'm yours, for sure. Can't nobody take that. My past is gone. You told me not to look back. Press on, stay strong. I know you lead the way. Been down for so long, but you made a brighter day.
Welcome back, Source Nation. You're listening live to Love Zone Mondays with Kathy B.
And welcome back, Source Nation. Welcome back. You're listening live right here on Love Zone Mondays. I am your host, Kathy B. We have about 2 hours and 46 minutes before we lose the live feed. Telephone number to reach us tonight is 619-924-0933. Again, 619-924-0933. Thank you for listening. But I tell you, you guys are tuning in because we have a dynamic man here in the studio with me. I'm telling you, he is coming with some serious knowledge. I'm speaking of Mr. Eric Terry. He is a marriage coach and author of Real Talk, The Making of a Man. Now, we're going to be talking about one of his chapters in his brand new book, Playing Out of Position. Interesting title. I do believe I have Eric in the studio with me. Eric, how are you this evening?
Yes, ma'am, Kathy. I am here. I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much for coming back in and being here with me. Always a pleasure to have you in the studio. But if you will, Eric, because you know we have new family members to Source Nation that are tuning in tonight and definitely wanting to hear some great conversation. So if you will, please, if you could take a moment to introduce yourself, that would be great.
Sure. Hey, as always, glad to be with you guys again tonight. Source Nation, good evening. Listen, my name is Eric Terry Sr. I am a happily married. Let me put it that way. Let me make sure I clarify that. Happily married, father of 4. My wife Deborah and I are certified marriage coaches. We are the owners of Real Talk Consulting, which is kind of something a little rare. It's a consulting firm, a coaching firm. Basically what we do is we help people manage relationships. We will go to our home builders, lenders to get our homes and houses built and apartment, for people to find apartments. But when it comes to relationships, we don't have anybody to go to. So we came up with the consulting firm for Real Talk Consulting, and we're located here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And listen, we are just all about trying to help people build and maintain healthy relationships. Again, as Kathy said, just recently I've just completed my first book, Real Talk, The Making of a Man, and we're going to get into that here in a little bit. But I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be here because this is my passion, this is my purpose, and I want people to just live a life, a happy life, and understand that being married is not the end of the world. You don't have to. It's not dead man walking. You know what I'm saying? It's not. It can be happy, but you have to work at it. You have to know the principles and have those principles in place to make it work properly.
Awesome. Well, I tell you, I want to jump right on into the book and definitely into the chapter. But before we do that, if you will, share with Source Nation just a little bit, Eric, about the book itself and why you wanted to write a book like this and release it at this time.
Sure. Originally I was writing the book just trying to get some relationship tips out to my single friends, my married friends, trying to help people to make proper decisions within their relationships. And in the process of doing that, really God shifted because, listen, this is faith-based. Let me make that clear. I'm a minister for over 20 years now, but again, I found ways to present this thing again without beating people in the head with the Bible. There are basically biblical, godly principles that I can give you without ever quoting the scripture. I think we're going to get a few of them tonight, though. But as I'm writing this book, God said the people don't know you. Outside of your circle, the people don't know you. So let's talk about you. Talk about your experience. Let them see that what you're talking about did not come just merely from a book. It did not just come from your education, but it came from life experiences. So the first few chapters of the book is really just my life. It talks about the things that I experienced that I believe most people, especially men, experience in relationships. And it just gives some details to try to deal with that. And again, I'll talk about that in this chapter that we're going to discuss tonight.
Awesome. All right, so let's talk about it. Playing position. And, of course, when you think about playing position, you're thinking about maybe a team coming together and where you are on the team and how you both can work together. So is that the premise of the chapter, working together as a team?
Absolutely. That along with understanding your role in the team.
Yeah.
A lot of times I believe that in relationships, this is where we lose sight of. This is where we mess up. We don't understand our roles. And Kathy, let me just give you a quick synopsis of this, what I'm talking about when I say our roles. A lot of times when you ask someone, what is your role in the relationship or what is your role in the marriage? A lot of times what happens is people begin to think about what they do. So the woman has been taught she's supposed to cook, clean, take care of the house. The man has been taught he's supposed to be the protector and the provider. But here's the question. What happens when that woman hasn't been trained on how to clean the house and how to take care of the kids and how to cook and how to clean? Because let's be honest, there are some women who don't know because their mothers were doing other stuff they didn't teach them. There are some men who never saw a man protect and provide. So what happens when you find yourself with somebody who doesn't understand what that is? That this tells us it has to be deeper than that. But it takes us both coming together to work and make this thing work. We have to balance each other out. So we have to understand whatever our role is, but we got to understand that it's deeper than just cooking, cleaning, protection, and provision.
I love that. I want to stay right there because it is very important, especially when you are taking on a role that is totally out of character. And what I mean by that, Erica Sports Nation, is that if you are a young woman as well as a young man and you are entering into a relationship and you've decided that marriage is what you want, if you don't understand the role of a wife, you don't understand a role of the husband, then it's unlikely that you will be successful going in. But I think, when you both are in agreement that you're going to work together and fully say, well, I don't know how to be a wife, or I don't know how to be a husband, but we're going to learn together. I think that is a great way to set a pace of success in your marriage. And I think a lot of people are afraid to talk in that manner. So let me ask you, in this particular chapter, is that something that you establish? And if not, is that something that you're coaching the young men and women that are looking at marriage?
Absolutely. I just recently had a young lady who she and her friend hers, they've been good friends for a long time. Now they're starting to try to move the relationship in a different area. And they came up with the idea, they're both friends of mine, they came up with the idea, hey, maybe we should look at some counseling. Maybe we should get some coaching on this. And in that process, they decided to talk to us. And Deborah and I said, hey, yeah, of course. And they said, well, we haven't been together that long. And it's not like we're talking marriage, but could you provide something for us? Could you create something for us to help us manage the relationship? And Kathy, I'll be honest with you, I wanted to just reach through the phone and hug both of them because they understood something that most people don't. Most of us wait until we've been together 2, 3, 4, 5 years and some longer to decide that we wanted to work on getting married. Listen, that should have been the goal from day one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm always asking the question. If you're dating someone, if you have no intention of one day marrying this person, what is your point in dating them? I never understood that. Are we just dating to have fun? Are we just hanging out? You know, if that's the case, that's cool. But let's make that expectation clear up front, and let's not go beyond that. But once you begin to step beyond those bounds, you know, as a girlfriend, when girlfriends begin to act like wives, there's a problem. There's a shift. We got to transition some way. And once boyfriends start acting like husbands, you know, this kind of crazy stuff. It's a good thing for all couples to come in and get that coaching, get that counseling early. If you're not sure, if you've never seen it, you know, someone told me a while back, you know, you can't be what you've never seen, and that's true. But Kathy, let me tell you something else that God gave me with that. Not only can you not become what you've never seen, even if you've seen it, if you don't have any principles or processes behind it, you still can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do it effectively. You can't become it effectively.
Okay, and I like that. So let's talk about how it can be effective. Because you're right. I think that you have to work at it, and you have to communicate. That's one of the things that I'm hearing you say, that, you know, when you are entering into a relationship, you have to establish what it is that you want. Before we talk about the effectiveness on that, let's talk about how soon is too soon to talk about what it is that you desire to have in a relationship.
Yeah. Let me tell you this. The first date might be a little too soon.
Okay.
You know, the first time we get on the telephone and talk to one another, that might be a little too soon. You know, I think the key is this. There's not a perfect time frame. Because I've met people who waited years, and I've met people who were married in weeks. And in both cases, I've watched couples flourish. But also in both cases, I've watched couples fail miserably. But it's all in how you manage this from the beginning. I believe when you come into a relationship, and when the relationship becomes, when the conversation, let me put it this way, when the conversation begins to become easy about your wants, your desires, and what you're looking for, and talking about your future, that's the perfect time to have those conversations. And here's a real simple one. I know this sounds really crazy, but it's true. The perfect time to discuss your future feelings or what you're wanting to do in your future, the perfect time to discuss that with someone is when they ask.
Mm-hmm. When they ask
the question, hey, what do you look? What do you want to do later on? What do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10? That's when you tell them. See, what I'm running into a lot of times now is people they're hearing their biological clock, or they're feeling like, oh, I'm getting old and this kind of thing. And so as soon as they meet somebody at a club, at Chili's, at the library, at church, whatever, and as soon as they meet them and go out for one meal or one good 4-hour conversation, now we're in love. And unfortunately, this doesn't lead to positive, productive relationships. It leads to situationships.
Yeah.
And it just puts us in situations that lead to other stuff that we can't get out of, and it causes more problems, more good than more bad than good.
Wow. Now, let's go to transition over to being effective and how we need to approach this situation that way.
Yeah. When it comes to being effective, the key is this. One of the statements that I made in the book was, preparation is key to doing anything effectively. When you look at we talk about a team earlier. When you talk about LeBron James and all the guys on the team for the Cleveland Cavaliers at this point, or whatever team you're looking at, but let's use the Cavaliers for a reason, for a season. When you look at those guys, they practice. They practice daily.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's the thing. The point guards don't practice playing center. The centers don't practice playing point guards. You see what I'm saying? Again, it goes back to first off understanding what is my role. My wife, Deborah, is always telling me, we were joking about it today, here, we can avoid so many risks if we just stay in our lane. And we've learned that to be true not only in business, but with our relationship. My wife is a salesperson. Kathy, I did my official book signing, and, I'm like, hey, come on in, have some fun, get a book. Girl, my wife is in the corner selling these books. You hear me? But that's what she does. Listen, that's her personality. When I have other business people looking at me going, can I take her with me? can I use her? And, I'm like, yeah, for a small fee, because I understand. She understands her role. She handles my calendar. She handles the booking. She handles all these things. She sets this up for me. But listen, she walks in that so favorably that I can flow in my lane. It's very rare that you're going to see her standing out front. She can, but that's not her forte. So she's not going to. She's only going to do it when it's called upon. Other than that, she's like, baby, hey, do your thing. So it's about understanding your role. But each of those guys on the team understand what it is they're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
For people getting into relationships, if they don't understand what it is they're supposed to do, we already have a problem.
That's right.
We already have a problem.
That's right.
So we've got to be effective in that first. And here's the thing. When it comes to doing that effectively, again, if I've never seen it, I can't become it. But just because I saw it doesn't mean I can do it effectively. My parents just last week just celebrated 43 years of marriage. 43 years. And they are happy. I mean, they didn't argue. They did not argue when I was a kid. I never heard them argue. I always make the joke they argue more now about who's cooking because both of them are retired. So the key is, one of the things that I noticed, I watched my father. I watched him work every day. I watched him run a church as a pastor. I watched him be a father and take care of us. I watched him be a good husband and love my mother like a queen. I watched him do all those things. But I found myself in a position when I got married, I saw him do it, but I didn't know the process. I saw him do it, and I could only admit, you can only mimic so much. Mm-hmm. You can only, I can only sit here and like my dad was the type, he would go to the store and purchase whole outfits for my mom, shoes, accessories. I mean, you name it, he could do it all. And guess what? I could do that too. Mm-hmm. But here's the thing. He also understood, I believe, my mom's love language, and this was long before the book came out, 5 Love Languages. But I believe he understood what her love language was, and guess what? He spoke it. Well, guess what? I didn't have that process. So I was able to do some of the things he did, but I was ineffective in a lot of the major areas because I never watched the process. I never learned the process of how to do it. So it's key to find out what the role is and what's the process. What's the process? How do I go about doing this? This is where we mess up. Basically, this is where we blow it in relationships. Because when we look to talk to somebody, most of us make the mistake of talking to somebody who is bitter about relationships.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Or they have had some success, but it's not effective. It's not, it's like that couple, it's that couple that's they together, but they don't even really like each other. And that's what we're taking. And that's what we're taking advice from. So we have to be careful of who we're getting advice from. I remember never wanting to talk to someone who had been through a divorce. Well, that wasn't necessarily a good thing, because here I was going through a divorce, talking to my father, who was a great example, but guess what? He had never experienced a divorce.
Mhm.
So he couldn't help me.
Right.
You know, all my preachers, all my pastor father could tell me was to pray. And, you know, and to be honest, as a preacher, that sounds great, but I'll be honest with you, at that time in my life, I was ready to punch her in the face. I didn't want to pray. You know, I was beyond that. So I needed something tangible. I needed something physical that I could do to try to fix what was going on. But without those key instructions and getting the information or advice from the proper people, I messed up. And it didn't work out.
Love that. I love that. Sports Nation, we are speaking with marriage coach and author Real Talk, The Making of a Man, Eric Terry, and he's sharing some great advice from one of his chapters in his book, Playing Out of Position. Eric, we actually have some questions that are coming into the studio, and I want to go ahead and get to those, and then we can go back to the conversation on tonight's topic. The first question is coming from our Facebook family. Hi, Eric. I have a question. The roles are really changing in society today. I am a female and married. We have 3 kids, and my husband has taken on the mindset that because I make enough to take care of all of our expenses, with some left over, he wants to be a house husband. I am against this because I grew up with the concept that the man's role was to provide. This is a point of contention in our marriage, and I don't know what to do. Please help.
Gotcha. Yeah, the key one, and this is one of the keys that I really talk about a lot, simply because this is one of the areas that has been kind of covered over. We haven't really, society hasn't really helped us. As a matter of fact, society has kind of made this situation worse. Let me give you a little history. Let's go back a little bit, because what happened, here's the key to what happened when it comes to those roles. Back in the 50s, you have World War II beginning. Prior to that, you had the men at work, the wives at home. Relationships were more of a partnership. The mother had her role, the father had his role. And it was simple. He brought home the money, she managed it and took care of the household. He built a home, he built the house, she made it a home. He supplied seed to have kids, she raised them. It was a partnership. I always go back to look at the movie The Color Purple. Remember when Mr. went to talk to the father about marrying the daughter? He wanted to marry Nettie. And the father told him, no, Celia's older, she's got to get married first. And immediately the father begins to tell him how good of a wife Celia would be. He begins to describe her attributes. She's a good cook, she can take care of the kids, she can clean the house. He said all the stuff she can do. Well, see, the whole community already knew Mr.'s wife had passed on. He had all these kids, but he had money. He had land. So they knew in their mind he would be a good husband. So this is where we get this mindset that as a man who's a provider, he's going to be the perfect husband. That's not always the case. You have a lot of men running around right now that think because they pay the bills, that's all they need to do. That's not the case either. But let's go back. When you look at the World War II, the men go off to fight, the women have to go to work because the tools that they needed for war, the women had to go to work and make. Okay? Now, so now the houses are empty. Because now you got babysitters, daycare started around this time. You have the women at work, and you have the husbands fighting at war. Well, 3 years later, the war is over. They come home. Guess what? The men have no jobs. Why? All the women have them. They got a system down. They're not needed. The man no longer at that point is looked at as the breadwinner. Why? He ain't working. So it shifts. So the mindset shifts. So now you have men who are being told, be a man, be a man, be a man, and the only thing that they know that makes them a man has been taken from them because they have no way to provide. So that's when you have the shift and the change in the dynamic. when it comes to today, men have to understand, yes, I get it. It's all our money. You know, you have some men who have an ego problem and trip because their wife makes all the money. Listen, who cares who makes the money? My thing is, can you manage that thing together? That's the key. Now, as far as the husband wanting having that desire to want to be at home, I don't know. That's kind of touchy simply because most men want to work. Most men that I know, they serious about doing their thing. They want to work. They don't want to just sit at home. But again, we got a different generation of men now, Kat. We got some guys who just hey, you know, if you're gonna get him a chick, they'll sit at home too. He needs to understand what's going to be the best situation for the family. What's going to work for you? Him sitting at home taking care of the kids, he may not be able to handle that. Some guys could. Some guys might be able to handle that just fine. But at the end of the day, what's the best situation for the family? I think that's something that you have to look at, because my question would be to him is, what are your reasons for wanting to stay at home? Is it because you're trying to be an entrepreneur and start your own business? Because you have some goals that you want to do on your own? Is it, is that what you're looking to do? Or you just want to sit at the house and play PlayStation all day?
Wow.
See, so those are some of the answers she needs to find out. She needs to find out what's your reason for wanting to do this? Because personally, I don't want my wife working 40, 50, 60 hours a week and I'm sitting at the house. It's just not in me. I don't have that in me to do. Mm-hmm. I'm hustling myself to try to do whatever I can. But if his idea is to sit at home and because he wants to start his own business and not want to work, stay tied down working for somebody else, great. Push him toward his purpose and let's do this thing together. But if you just want to sit at home because you can sit at home and I make good money, that's not a good enough reason.
Right. And I'm so glad that question came in because this is something where you can now explain Eric fully about what that particular chapter needs to be in your book, in regards to the role, positions, and understanding that. Because, as you said, he's now saying, okay, well, if you're out here and you're making money and you can take care of the family and you still have money left over, once the expenses are taken up, I'm just sitting back and chilling, then what should that conversation, what should she be saying to him, and how can they fix this and move forward?
Sure. I think one of the first things is she has to be able to ask him, okay, here's a question that Deborah asked me a lot. I'll come to her with some far-fetched idea that has crossed my mind, and my wife has 3 words for me, Kathy. What's your plan? What's your plan? How is this going to help us? Because here's the key, Kathy. We realize in today's society, things cost more. So if you're doing well with 1 salary, how much better can we do with 2? How much more can we save? How much more can we accomplish? Because here's the problem. What happens if something happens to her while she's on her job and that's the only income coming in? He has to think about things like that. So she needs to be able to ask him, what's your plan? If we were to do this, what would you do? What would this look like? See, here's the key, and this is what a lot of men don't understand. Women essentially want somebody who is willing to lead, but it's really difficult for them to, now fellas, listen to me, hear me well. Fellas, it is hard for a woman to just blindly follow someone who they feel doesn't know where they're going. It is almost impossible to get a woman to just say, I can't walk in the other room, grab my wife by the hand and say, come on, baby, let's go. Because guess what she's going to start doing, Kathy? Where we going?
Well, we're going.
She's going to start asking questions. But see, as men, we have to understand why. They're asking questions because answers bring security. Mm-hmm. But if I can't give her answers, I'm not making her secure, I'm making her worry.
Right.
And
I'm glad you said that.
When she's worried. Yeah.
I'm glad
Absolutely.
you said that because we had another question to come in, and this young lady is just wanting to get some confirmation on sticking through the rough times, and she wanted to, know how can she approach this manner because it's come up in the relationship where rough times are here. She can weather the storm, but it's like he's unable to. And this is what she says. Because there are good times in the relationship which are a piece of cake, but there are also difficult times. And those difficult times will also destroy the relationship if you allow them to. There comes a point in time in every relationship when you have to make the decision. It's a decision that is made, and it's only made once. When you reach a point in your relationship, you either decide that you're going to stay and stick it out or you're going to leave. This is the question that I've asked my fiancé. Soon want him to be my husband. But if rough times are here now, what would it look like later?
Perfect question. Perfect question. Because I'm constantly telling my singles, if you are struggling in a relationship now, marriage is not going to make that better. If you can't manage small things now, large things are going to overtake you when you get married. Because, Kathy, here's the bottom line when it comes to marriage. We have to understand this. Marriage is a spiritual obligation. It is not a legal binding. The society has made this a legal binding. But when you go beyond that, it's deeper than that. This is a spiritual move. So for you to walk into a spiritual move like this, to partner yourself, to life partner with yourself, you're making a commitment to life partner yourself with someone. If those things are backwards, are behaving awkwardly, if things are out of position, like we're talking about tonight, if they're out of position in the engagement, they're not going to better themselves when you get married. As a matter of fact, it's going to be magnified. So this is an area that they definitely need to be talking about. And I would really, I don't know what area they're in, I would really suggest that they go talk to someone, sit down with someone who can help them manage their feelings and their emotions. Because, see, we have to be able to take that part out. It's about the principles. If we don't get the principles down, our emotions mean nothing. We have to get this stuff down so that we can operate in the marriage properly. And that's the key. So we talk to someone. But listen, and Kathy, I'm constantly telling you this. I don't care where she is, what area of town. Listen, she needs to research, find somebody with the same moral background, spiritual background that she has, and do not just go to your pastor. My God on high, please hear me when I say okay, you might get some emails for some pastors on this. They're gonna be mad at me. But listen, as a preacher, pastor, associate pastor, and all that for 20 years, let me tell you one thing I've learned about both pastors. Seminary has not prepared them to counsel. Just please understand that. Pastors have enough on them. They have been taught how to preach. They have been taught how to exegete the text, but they have not. Most of them have not, unless they've pursued another piece of counseling degree. Seminary alone does not teach pastors how to counsel. I've been screaming that at the top of my lungs. Because listen, my father's been in ministry now for over 35 years. He has pastored countless couples. Out of all the couples he has counseled and married, there is one that is still married. One out of 35 years, one. And you want to know something really funny?
What's that?
that couple is in counseling with me right now.
Really?
The one couple that is still together that he's counseled, they're with me right now. And they're doing great. They're doing better. But it's one of those things that we think automatically that our pastors can help us. We think that, so-and-so does free counseling. Listen, everything free ain't worth it. We will pay to invest in our cake, our dress, and all this stuff. Kathy, have you ever thought it was funny how they market to women to buy a dress, but the men are renting tuxes?
That's right.
you're gonna wear that one time.
One time.
So, and listen, at least if that brother keeps that tux, he might be able to wear that tux somewhere else down the road. You will never wear that dress to another function. But here's the key. She's got to be willing to invest in the relationship. Don't just invest in a wedding. Invest in the marriage. Now, if you are dating someone or you're engaged to someone who is unwilling to invest in the marriage, oh my God, that is a sure sign.
Oh yeah.
Because if he's unwilling to invest time and money into making sure we do this right and we do it once, he's more than likely not going to be willing to invest time as it goes down to fix it.
Well, you know what? I want to take it a step before that. Before you even get to marriage, you have to be willing to invest foremost in yourself and invest in the relationship that's going to get you to marriage. So if you're seeing that this man is the man for you and he's going to be the man in your future as well as the woman, then why not take the necessary steps to do what's right with the individual first, then the relationship with the individual together. So, and I think that's what we're missing is not being able to recognize that. You know, Eric, I often talk about, my divorce and the things that I did after my divorce. Of course, I thought that marriage was going to be a marriage that was going to last, until God called me home, because that was my adult marriage. I was married, 22 years ago to my oldest son's father, and we were still in college. So I really don't look at that because, we were only married a year. But this marriage, my last marriage, we were together for a total of 13 years, and 8 of those were married years. So my thing was is after we separated and divorced, I had to really take a look at what were some of the things that were right and the things that were wrong. Where did we fall short? And of course, communication was the biggest thing. We just did not know how to communicate. When he was hurting, he would shut down and would not let me know. And if I began to nag him, he would get angry. And then when he wanted to know something from me, it felt like he was blaming me for whatever was going on or going wrong in his sight. So we just didn't communicate. But once we decided to separate and divorce, I looked at it and I said, okay, I'm not afraid to be married again because that's something that I want. But prior to doing that, what are the things, what are the things that I'm going to put in place in order to be successful in the next marriage? So I had to just map out those things and just say, okay, this is what has to take place, this is what I'm going to do, and then I'll charge for it. So I think that that's what people need to do. They really need to understand that investing in oneself and investing in the relationship that you have will equate to success.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kathy, here's the thing. We have to be willing to look at ourselves. See, we're so busy a lot of times in relationships, we're too busy pointing the finger at other people that we can't focus on what we need to do properly. When I'm counseling a couple, when I'm coaching a couple, here's one of the things I do. When they begin to point the finger, well, you did it, you said, and they're going through that little issue, I have 2 mirrors that I hand them. Each one of them here. Because what I want them to do is I want them, okay, the particular situation that you're talking about, look in that mirror and tell me, what could the person in that mirror have done differently to change the outcome of this situation?
Wow.
Let me tell you something. It changes everything. The arguing quits. Because it's real hard to argue with yourself because people they're going to lock you up. You can't argue with yourself. So you have to be real careful. So it's hard to judge do. But to hear you say that you were determined to find out, okay, what is it about me that's doing it? What am I doing wrong? And listen, that's the key, because we spend most of our time in a relationship pointing at the other person. But when it ends, okay, at some point we have to grow up and say, you know what? This is a two-way street. We both had a part to play in it. You know, what did I do wrong? So that's key. And again, I talk about that in the book. That was something I had to do. And I had to be honest with myself, because I could lie to myself all I wanted to. But at the end of the day, lying to myself wasn't going to help. It wasn't going to fix anything. Lying to myself was going to get me in marriage number 3 and divorced before it was even started. If I did not do something properly to fix it. So it's the same thing in a relationship. We got to check ourselves. The key is this, Kathy, when you talk about people getting married, the key should be that it's 2 single people. When I say single, see, the difference is there's single, there's unmarried, and there's married. To me, an unmarried person, you know, we know what married is. Married is somebody who's already in a committed relationship. They got the legal and the spiritual bonding. They're good. Unmarried people are just people who have gone from one relationship to another, but they're by themselves. They're alone right now. They're not physically married to someone. There's no legal or spiritual bond to someone else. Now, when it comes to single people, we need to understand that's one. That means they understand who they are. They have a control of their identity. They are working on them. They are focusing on them. And they are okay where they are. See, most people who are not married are just simply unmarried. They're not single. Because being single tells me that you're whole. Most people are so broken from previous relationships that it's almost impossible for them to be whole.
Wow. Amazing information, Eric. You know, you always come with great advice and definitely great tips. You know, we are coming up on the end of the segment, but before we wrap it up, I would just like to ask you, in the chapter itself, were there any advice tips that you could give Sports Nation tonight in regards to playing out of position?
Absolutely. I think, it goes back, Kathy, to understanding what my position is. You know, I understand if I'm a point guard, okay, what is it that a point guard is supposed to do? What's the role of a point guard? I need to make sure I understand that. If I'm a quarterback on a football team, I need to understand what is my job as a quarterback. You know, whatever that situation is, we've got to understand what it is that we do or what it is that's expected of us. So one of the keys for me, especially when I talk to single women, and to single men especially, there's a piece in the book, there's a sleep disorder that I talk about in the book, in this chapter that God gave me when I was writing. Kathy, you remember back in the 90s, there was a saying, we was talking about people and say, don't sleep on me. You know, don't miss what I'm bringing to the table, those kind of things.
That's right.
When you look spiritually, when you look in Scripture, and it in Genesis 2 talks about God putting Adam to sleep as He created Eve. There's a sleep disorder that men have, and I want my single women, I want my men to hear this too, but I want my single women to really listen to this. Number one is men who oversleep. These are men who, they are ladies' men. They just date all the time. They never is emotionally settled down anywhere. These are men who more than likely will never marry or marry very late in life. Those men are going to be hard because they come across as picky. They come across as really high standards. But it's just the fact that most of them are just afraid. Their bottom line is it's fear. The second one is men who undersleep. Men who undersleep are people like me, unfortunately. They're dating young. They're having sex young. They're emotionally attached young. They're in relationships way too early. It's like they wake up before God is finished cleaning them. They wake up way too soon. And see, right now we're in a society with young men and older men who have awakened so fast because sex is readily available, because you got some women who still think that giving them sex creates love. So they run with it. So if you have that scenario, With these guys, they end up being married several times. Baby mamas all over the place, all kind of stuff. Just causes all kind of dysfunction. Then you have guys. Then you have guys. The last one, you get guys who have proper sleep. These are guys who most women ignore. These are the good guys that most women look over. They're no fun. They're boring. That's what we hear. They're boring. They're a good guy. Oh, he's everything I want, but that guy.
Right.
Listen, ladies need to understand that's probably going to be your best choice because that brother hadn't tied himself down to anybody emotionally. More than likely, he wasn't having sex early, so he's clean, he's clear. He's not having those attachments. He ain't got a bunch of baby mamas and kids sprawled all over the place. But listen, later on in life, that man is going to make a great husband. Why? Because he has focused on one woman.
Eric, I do believe we have a... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Sure. No, you're fine. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I believe we have a caller here in the studio, and I want to go ahead and get to the caller prior to end of the segment. Caller, I'm going to announce your last 4 digits of your number. Please know once I do, I will release the line, and you'll be on the call with myself, Kathy B, and author Eric Terry, 4527. Good evening, and welcome to Relationship Mondays with Kathy B. Do you have a question?
Hey, Kathy B, how you doing?
I am wonderful. Do you have a question for Mr. Terry tonight?
Yeah, I just want to let Mr. Eric Terry know this is Larry Love, and I'm following him all over the place.
What's going on, Larry? How you doing, man?
I like what you said about the 3 guys, and Miss B, Kathy B. I'm Larry Love from Blog Talk Radio as well.
Okay.
And we talk about relationships. So I was listening to the show tonight, man. What you're putting out, man, is great information.
Bless you, man. I appreciate it.
Just wanted you to know that.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, man. Thanks a lot, Larry.
All right.
Thank you for calling in, Larry.
No problem.
Have a great evening.
Wow.
Awesome. Well, you got a fan there, and definitely the book itself is magnificent. I love the fact that tonight you had a very important chapter, talking about roles and understanding, who you are and where you are in your relationship is so important, especially if you're striving for success. So I think, that the key here, what we've learned tonight, Eric, is really you have to communicate. It's all about communicating and being willing to have the heart of working things out and wanting it. So I truly have enjoyed the conversation with you tonight. So thank you so much. If you will, please, if you could share with Source Nation how we can get more information about you and continue to follow you and support you in your efforts.
Definitely, Kathy. Thank you so much, Keene. This is always a pleasure to be on with you guys, Source Nation. I've got so much love from the Source Nation family, and I appreciate it. They can reach me. I can be reached at my website, realtalkconsultants.com. Also, we're on Facebook as facebook.com/realtalkconsulting, or they could just search my name, Author Eric Terry Sr., Eric A. Terry Sr., or my personal page is Eric Terry Sr. And also, the book is available on ebook on the Google Play Store if you have an Android tablet or phone. Also, they can go to mjtpublishing.com. That is my publishing company. You can get the book there. Also, you can go to amazon.com. And Kathy, listen, I'm looking forward to soon. Hopefully, it'll also be in Barnes & Nobles across the country. So I'm thoroughly excited about that. That's going to be major for us. So we're looking for that. But again, we're always available. And listen, anything we can do. Listen, we do couples by Skype. So no matter where your couples are, if you guys want to reach out to us, hit me up on Facebook or on our website. There's a contact page there. They can set up sessions with us, and we can take care of this thing over Skype if they want to have counseling sessions with us.
Well, we appreciate that, and definitely thank you and Deborah for doing amazing work, and wish you lots of luck, man. with your book, because it's simply amazing just to see the great work that you're doing. So thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much, Kathy. Appreciate it.
You have a wonderful evening.
You as well.
All right. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Well, Source Nation, you heard it right there from marriage coach and author Eric Terry. The name of the book is Real Talk, The Making of a Man. All of the information and more can be found out on our station pages. You can go to Kathy B, Source Radio Network, or our main station page, Source Radio Network, to find out more information about Eric. Definitely when you're looking at some counseling, please consider Eric and his wife. They're doing some amazing work when it comes to relationships and giving great advice. And pick up the book. Pick up the book. Again, Real Talk, The Making of a Man by Eric Terry Sr. Guys, great conversation. First hour, we're going into the second hour. You're listening live right here on Love Zone Mondays. I am your host, Kathy B. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
We'll be back, Source Radio Network, after this commercial break.
This program was brought to you by Blog Talk Radio, Scott Cares Foundation, Cat Photography, Urban Grandstand Digital, Red Pill Lifestyle Management and Consulting, New Covenant of Praise Worship Center, and Hitsmasters. Welcome back, Source Nation. You're listening live to Love Zone Mondays with Kathy B.
And welcome back, Source Nation. Welcome back. You're listening live. I am your host, Kathy B. We are now into our second hour. We have about an hour and 49 minutes before we lose the live feed. Now, you know what that means. That means if you're listening on your Android, your laptop, and your iPad, you want to take this number down, 619-924-0933. Again, 619-924-0933. I'm so excited to have this dynamic couple in the studio with me. You know, I was actually out on Facebook and came across a posting that I believe Miss Zara Greene had, and I said, you know what? I have got to have these two in the studio with me because they are doing some wonderful things when it comes to relationships and definitely striving for success. But before I bring them in, let me just tell you a little bit about Zara Greene and Alfred Edmond Jr. Now, Zara and Alfred are co-authors of Loving in the Grown Zone, a no-nonsense guide to making healthy decisions in the quest for loving romantic relationships of honor, esteem, and respect. You know, and the thing about it is that you have to have that, ladies and gentlemen, when you are striving for a healthy relationship. So if we put all of that together plus communication, you know that you can really strive for longevity and be successful because you're both working at it. You're willing to work at your relationship. So I love it. I do believe I have Alfred and Zara in the studio with me. Good evening. How are you?
Good evening. Thank you very much. Yes, this is Zara and Alfred, and we are thrilled to be here, Kathy B.
Hey, Kathy B. Hey, Source Nation.
I am so excited to have you guys in the studio with me to learn all about relationships and definitely loving in the grown zone. But before we get started, guys, if you would take a moment to introduce yourselves. Of course, you know I didn't give you a bio justice, and I tell you why. We've had the opportunity really to share you with Source Radio Network and the Source Nation family, and we love you guys. So if you could just take a moment to introduce yourself, that would be great.
Well, here's how I'm going to do this. Alfred doesn't know I'm doing this right now, but I'm going to introduce him, and then I'm going to let him introduce me. And I'm going to do that because he never quite does himself justice. Alfred Edmond, Jr., is best known as an award-winning journalist and senior vice president of Black Enterprise magazine. He's been in the industry for over 30 years now and has led Black Enterprise in a whole lot of ways to be what everybody knows it to be today. So he's also known as a personal finance guru who also has a radio show segment called Money Matters, and it's syndicated throughout the country. And so we partnered. He's my life, love, and business partner now in A2Z Personal Growth Enterprises. And our main product that gets lots of traction is the Grown Zone. So that is who Alfred Edmond Jr.
Thank you, baby.
I love it.
Zara Greene is an accomplished trainer, speaker, individuality advocate. She's been in the personal growth game longer than I have, doing some amazing things. She also just recently earned her certification as a Heal Your Life workshop leader, and according to the philosophies of Louise Hay. I am her partner in life, business, and love, and she's just amazing. We co-host a radio show together. She started out as a broadcast journalist. She's also a former director of public relations for the city of New Orleans, her hometown, and so she brings a breadth of experience both as a communicator, a media professional, but most importantly as someone who has dedicated her life to helping people to commit to personal growth as a way to have healthier, happier lives. And that's my baby, Zara Greene.
And let me tell you, the introductions was nothing but sexy. I love it.
See, well, and you know, we've never done that before. I've never done that before. So thank you for that opportunity, Kathy B. I think you might have to do that more often.
Yeah, you should. You should. I love it. I love it. Well, guys, again, thank you so much for being here on Relationship Mondays. It's indeed a pleasure to have you. So let's talk about loving in the Grown Zone. Zara, I believe something came across the feed one night, and you were talking about self-love. And I was so engrossed into the message that you were saying, I had to reach out to you. I said, okay, I've got to have them on the show, because to talk about relationships and understanding yourself before you desire to have a relationship is what we talk about here. And we want the understanding. We want to make sure that the relationships are ending up with success and longevity. As we know, the highest percentage of family breakdown is in the African American household. And needless to say, that breakdown very well comes from not being able to communicate with one another. So let's start there. Let's talk about the self-love part, because there's so many of us, and I'm going to go ahead and put my name in the hat and say, I've been divorced now, soon will be 7 years coming August. But I realized in that divorce that there were things that I needed to take care of before I could love someone else. And it had to start with me. I had to begin to love me all over again, so therefore I can offer love to another. So what are your thoughts about that? Talk to us about self-love.
Well, I'm going to talk to that which you just spoke, and that is having to find self because you got lost. And that's often what happens in relationships. People will, because they haven't established a standard of self-love, then we find ourselves making our partner the priority of our lives, instead of allowing the parts of our partner that complements us to grow and develop from there rather than becoming whatever we need to become in order to make them happy. And so getting lost in relationships is not love. That's not self-loving. We have to operate from a place of self-love. That means the partner that we end up choosing is somebody who can build upon the foundation we have, instead of and in that case, then we'll never give over what's important to us for a relationship. And if that partner is self-loving as well, they'd never ask for it.
Wow.
So self-love has to be the foundation from which a relationship, a healthy relationship, grows. Otherwise, your foundation is faulty. It can't be. It can't be whole. It can't be strong. It can't be self-sustaining because the individuals are not self-sustaining.
Whatever what we call self-love deficits, we have for ourselves. You have a self-love deficit when you feel that to fill that void, you need a thing or a person outside of yourself to fill that void. That's always a sign of an unhealthy relationship. Whatever deficits you have as a single person, you need to fill that void as a single person, or you will bring that deficit to the relationship and build the relationship on an unstable foundation. So our book, Loving in the Grown Zone, emphasizes, and everything in the Grown Zone, if you go to grownzone.com, emphasizes that the foundation of all healthy relationships, not just romantic ones, is self-love, self-acceptance, good, bad, and ugly.
Accepting all of that.
No
good,
shame, no guilt, no regrets. Embracing yourself for who you are, because guess what? That's how you're going to teach other people how to love and treat you. You can't accept or attract love from others that will exceed or substitute for your love for yourself. And unfortunately, much of what we've been taught about how to pursue relationships is about finding someone to so-called complete us. And two incomplete people make a whole mess. Two half people make a whole mess.
It does.
You need two complete, healthy, happy people to establish a healthy, happy relationship.
And you know what? And I love exactly what you said, and I want to stay right there if we can.
Absolutely.
When someone makes the statement, I'm really trying to find someone to complete me. When you hear someone say that, what are the questions, or is there a series of questions that you ask them? Because to me, just as Alfred said, you haven't really found that thing yet about yourself. Because if you think that someone's going to complete you and everything is going to be all right, then, of course, it's not. So talk to us about that. When you hear someone say, I'm trying to find someone to complete me, what questions should be followed from there?
The question becomes, what is it that you think you're missing? What is it that you're missing from your life? What is it that you're missing from yourself? Why do you feel like less than a whole person? Because you don't attract what you want in relationships. You attract what you believe you are. So you have people who are, for example, saying that I'll take men, or they want a woman of fidelity. They want a woman who's going to be faithful to them. But they're living a lifestyle that's not a life of fidelity. And then they wonder why they only attract people who reflect the lifestyle they're living, not what they say they want.
Or even if they get it, if they get a woman of fidelity, we condition ourselves. So even if you're not living the lifestyle you say you want, the lifestyle you desire, or the lifestyle that you believe you deserve, if you're not being that and conditioning yourself for it, then once you get into a relationship, the relationship is not a switch that turns on that thing you say you want. You have to be. You have to become. You have to be living that thing before you turn that switch on in a relationship. Before you go into a relationship that says, "I am now living." We have a relationship of fidelity. Well, no, you don't. If you weren't living that before you got into it.
So being a complete whole person is something that you are already. You have to look at and if you don't feel that way, And the last thing you need is a relationship. You need to focus on knowing and understanding and accepting and embracing your relationship with yourself. And a lot of us don't even have a relationship with ourselves. We look in the mirror and we don't see another person. We just see a face.
Right.
We don't have a relationship with ourselves, and then because if we neglect that relationship, then we think the solution is to find someone else to do for us that which we are not doing for ourselves. And grown people don't look for others to provide the love that they should have for themselves. If you're healthy and happy and self-loving, then you will attract healthy and happy, self-loving people. But if you feel incomplete, you're going to attract incomplete people, or worse, you'll attract a complete person who will resent you because you always need to be filled, and they never get filled because you're the one that has the void, and it's only a one-sided relationship.
Now, Kathy B, when Alfred talks about when you look into the mirror and you don't see yourself, then he's talking about a soul connection with you. He's talking about an individual who has a soul connection with themselves, not just looking in the mirror
and seeing the face,
seeing the face, or seeing the crow's feet, or seeing all the imperfections, or seeing only seeing that outer stuff, the surface you. So he's talking about having a soul connection with self, to know that you are beyond the external that everybody else sees. If you don't have a relationship with that which is beyond the external of you, then there's still work to do.
And you're not ready to have a relationship with anyone else. Zara talks about the importance of not just looking into the mirror, but looking into your eyes. They say the eyes are the windows to the soul. Do you know how many people can't bear to look into their own eyes and look into their own souls, the essence of who they are? And so healthy relationships start there, all healthy relationships, not just romantic ones. And so one of the things that we emphasize in the Grown Zone, and people can get involved with the Grown Zone by going to grownadvice.com, and we have a private Facebook group. We have a whole bunch of other things that we do at our website to work on these issues, because if you can establish that solid foundation of love for self, then you are positioning yourself not only to attract healthy love from others, but to be able to sustain those relationships. And by the way, also to recognize those people and relationships that are not good for you.
Yeah.
And to know to keep them at a distance, to push them away, because anything that does not help you to love yourself, to grow as a person, to have honor, esteem, and respect is unhealthy for you. And anybody or any relationship that brings that to your life, they may be good people. They may be very nice people, but they don't belong in relationship with you. And Loving in the Grown Zone is a book that kind of walks you through the things you need to consider as you decide what's healthy for you and what's not healthy for you.
Wow. Great information to share. I would love to talk about this next area, and then, of course, I want to move to the happy side of relationships. But I think that this area is so very important also, Alfred and Zara, in regards to being able to look in the mirror, just as you said, because I had to do this. In my marriage, and this was my second marriage, infidelity played a part. And, of course, I was angry, very upset after everything was said and done. But looking in the mirror, I had to say, I cannot blame him. And it's very hard for people to say, okay, what part did I play? I had some fault in this. I can't just put it all on the other person. Talk to us from that aspect, being able to say, okay, I played some part in this. To me, I feel like that is healthy. It helps me. So I'm wondering if other people that you've discussed this with, have they had found it to be a problem to say I played some part in whatever, and it could be an intimate relationship or a professional relationship, because those relationships break down some form or another. But how receptive are they to say that they played some part in the breakdown? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, that depends on how grown they are. because a relationship is never one-sided. And there's always a part for somebody else to play. You know, one of the things that I emphasize in any teaching is understanding self. I have a system that I teach where teach the full spectrum of individuality so that people can see how they operate in their own thoughts and emotional processes as well as those around them. So often in relationships, we just break people down to either the bully or the one who's being taken advantage of or the doormat. And we all want to feel sorry for the doormats. We want to say, oh, you know, look, it's such a shame. Look what he did to her. Or, you know, if he's a nice guy and she was aggressive, well, look what she did to him. When the reality is, it is each of our responsibility, regardless of temperament. It is each of our responsibility to set the standard for our treatment. So to say that, you know, I just kept forgiving him and he just keeps on cheating on me, well, then stop being a doormat. Well, then raise the standard of your treatment. Well, then grow up. Well, then stop allowing somebody to, stop tolerating that kind of mistreatment. People only do to you and do at you that which you allow. Stop allowing it. And so everybody has a part in a relationship breakdown. Most of the time, people aren't equipped to have a healthy relationship from the get-go. So what Alfred and I are doing with this book and in the Grown Zone, in our live trainings, in the programs that we're putting together to teach online, all the things that we're doing is to equip people to have healthy relationships. Because everybody wants to blame the divorce rate. Well, we wouldn't have the high divorce rate if we were better equipped to have better relationships.
That's right.
And that's the reality.
We're going into marriages unprepared because we've been taught, whether it's by fairy tales, by family, you know, in some cases by church, that as long as you're in love, you don't really need to prepare yourself. You just kind of, you do it and it just happens. And let me be perfectly transparent. Both Zara and I are each twice divorced.
Yes.
So we've been where you are, you know, because we brought into the same myths. As long as they're a nice person, as long as they're good looking, as long as you have good sexual chemistry.
Oh, wait. Here's the biggest. As long as they're saved.
As long as they're saved, right? We think, you know, we cover all this in our book about the difference between attractors and sustainers. So things like common religious beliefs, physical appearance, sexual chemistry, common family background, those are attractors, and they're legitimate. We have a right to be attracted to certain people based on certain preferences. The problem is those things don't sustain relationships. So the book actually identifies the attractors that we're taught to build relationships on, but then we also identify the relationship sustainers, those things that you got to have in relationships, such things as forgiveness for one another, compassion for one another, patience for one another, loyalty and fidelity as a common value. Those are the things that sustain relationships after, you know, you're 70 and you don't look as good as you did when you were 25, and you know, and you may not have the sexual appetite you had when you were 35, and maybe you're not making the kind of money you were making when you were 45. But when you look at people who have healthy, sustainable relationships, they have those sustainer values. And one of the things that we're trying to teach, we're so used to dysfunctional relationships that we think that that's the way they're supposed to be.
Right.
We think that just because something is common, that's just normal. And what our book strives to do, in fact, what it in fact does, it proves that if you approach it systematically with a set of values and guidelines for what love is and what love isn't, you can have healthy relationships, and if you build marriages on healthy relationships, those marriages are sustainable because the relationship is sustainable. What we're taught is to get married and then figure out the relationship part later.
Or think the marriage. People
think the marriage.
People think it's a pill.
Right. The wedding is going to fix the relationship.
Yep. And they still treat it like a magic pill. And you know, and
Yeah.
if the pregnancy comes ahead of time, then of course, well, no, we're doing it for the children. We're staying together for the child. We're gonna marry for the sake of the family. If you don't have the right tools, you're wasting your time. You're wasting energy. You're just, it really just. We need to just look at things and be realistic about them and stop with the fairy tales.
If you think of marriage and family as a house, a building, a mansion, a castle, whatever kind of house you want, the relationship is the foundation of that house.
That's right.
And when you add marriage and finances and children and all of those obligations and responsibilities of a marriage, if it's built on a solid relationship foundation, you have a stable house. But what we're being taught to do is to build these houses on poor foundations, shaky foundations.
Poor foundations.
For the sake of the children.
And we think kids and marriage and money will fix it all. But what we're doing is we're piling more and more and more on top of a foundation that wasn't stable in the first place. And then, obviously, we know the consequences. The foundation crumbles. So then you have divorce, and you have fatherless sons and daddyless daughters, and you have bankruptcy
scars for life and all that.
And you have these other issues, and that's what we address in the Grown Zone. In fact, we have a training that's coming up, an online training that's going to focus specifically on one of our more popular topics, grown love and money.
Yeah.
Because most of our poor money decisions are driven by what we think we have to do to either get a relationship or keep a relationship.
Y'all want to get in on that?
Yeah. So you definitely go to grownadvice.com, your listeners. Join it. You'll get in our private Facebook group, and you'll learn about this training because we do a whole workshop online about the financial decisions that you need to guard against making because you are in love or you're desperate to keep someone in your life. And you do things that you would never do under normal circumstances, co-signing on loans, moving somebody into your house, paying their bills.
Or paying, releasing your money based on other people's needs.
Yes.
And because they've got a need and they're about to get put out or their car is about to be repossessed, then you put yourself in harm's way.
Because we've been taught that love is, that's how you do that because of love.
That's how you do it. That's that you do that.
And it's unhealthy. And our whole standard of everything in the Grown Zone is either it's healthy or it's unhealthy. And if it's unhealthy, it's not love.
And the reason we're doing this, that's it.
That's right.
The reason that we've really just decided that we need to bring this training online is because we started a tour, and we started in Atlanta, and we had people going, okay, wait a minute. We can't wait for you to do a tour to get to us. What are we supposed to do? So we're like, okay, we really do need to take this and figure this thing out, put it online, and start teaching it so that we can make it available to more people.
Wow.
Alfred says this thing, babe. I need you to help me with this. Right. Alfred often says when it comes to people who have bad relationships, it's like a prison. And when they have babies,
a house that's not a home is a prison, and adding babies just adds inmates.
I'm sorry, I find that funny.
That is
but how many people are in relationships? They're not healthy, they're not happy, but they think if we have a baby, everything's going to be okay.
If we have a baby, everything is going to be okay.
He's going to change.
And you know what?
He's going to act different.
That is so true.
She's going to change.
And they have 5, 6 babies. And then, and everybody's miserable. No, that's not okay.
That's right. That's
right. So the whole making babies, we have a chapter called 4 relationship fixes that never work. And one of them is people try to fix relationships by having a child, either to get somebody or to keep somebody. They think, well, if I have his baby, he'll be mine. He'll stay. He'll get rid of those other women. He'll stay. If we have a baby, our marriage will be better. If we have a baby, he'll have to marry me, or she'll have to marry me. I mean, you heard all these things, and it's not like,
and it's not one-sided. It's not just
it's
men too. Absolutely.
If I give her a baby, she'll stick with me. She'll have to be with me because I'll be the father of her child. And again, we tell people you're not crazy. These are the things we've all been taught. And a big part of the Grown Zone and a big part of being grown is having the willingness to challenge what you've been taught by others.
Challenge your beliefs.
Challenge your beliefs and focus on what works for me. What's healthy for me. What makes me feel loved. What brings me honor, esteem, and respect. Because the relationships without honor, esteem, and respect are doomed to fail. And in the meantime, the people in them are doomed to suffer.
Yes. Because any relationship, and all of us know what it is to be in a relationship where the honor, esteem, or respect is not there. And we know that is some misery.
Yeah. That's misery. That is so true.
Yes.
And I think that you have to have all three. You can't just one and think everything is going to be fine. You have to have all three. Let me say this. We are listening live. I'm speaking with Alfred Edmond Jr. and At.Zara Greene, and we're speaking about loving in the Grown Zone. We're going to open up the lines. Telephone number to reach us is 619-924-0933. Again, 619-924-0933. Alfred and Zara, we have some questions that have come in, and I want to go ahead and get to those so we can get back to this amazing conversation. The first question that has come in from Source Nation, it reads, what is your opinion about love? What is love to you?
Well, then.
Love is anything that enhances your capacity to love yourself and to grow into the best person you can be. We are all created, though we're all created differently, we're all created to love, learn, and grow. Anything or anyone that restricts your capacity to love, learn, and grow is not loving. It's a very strict definition. And we actually have a post on our site called 11 Things that are often called love that are anything but. Because that we live in a society that calls anything love. If you just go to a club and you see somebody across the room and you guys are in bed in half an hour, within the hours of meeting each other, people call that love.
Yeah, it was love at first sight.
It's love at first sight. People call punishment love. People call abuse love. And so what we say is if it doesn't enhance your ability to grow as a person, to love yourself, and to learn as you go, if it doesn't make you more of the best of yourself, it's not love.
And when it all boils down, that's why we're here. That's
what we were created for.
We're only created to learn and to grow. And the more we learn, the more we grow, the more it increases our capacity to love. It's really that simple. Mm-hmm. And it's that cycle that we really do need to strive to live in.
A bigger part of what we do in the Grown Zone is really to kind of attack what we call the adult messiness, adult and messy behavior and choices that society has accepted as totally fine. I mean, just look at your average, what we call ratchet TV, housewives shows and how they treat each other and how they treat their relationships. Or if you watch, on television court shows and people are showing up and how they treat each other. Oh, yeah, I paid his child support. Now he's kicked me to the curb, but I loved him. And worse, the most dramatic examples, we watch a lot of true crime television where somebody ends up dead.
ID Channel, TV One, all the different channels have these shows, Fatal Attraction. And we were marveling before we started the Grown Zone how often these stories start out with, they were in love. But when you look at those stories, they weren't in love at all. Because they, as far as they knew, they were in love.
Because they had no definition.
That's right. But their treatments of each other were anything but love. I mean, so we really had to get clear and sit down and say what is loving treatment and what is not. We need in order to create a guide for people to be able to stop accepting treatment that is unloving. Then we have to write this stuff down. We have to say this is not loving treatment. This is what love is. This is not love.
Because one of the things we say all the time is if you don't have a standard, and it goes back to self-love, if you don't have a standard for healthy self-love, anything passes for love.
Absolutely.
Any treatment will pass for love if you don't have a standard for what's loving for you, what's healthy for you. One of the guidelines, for example, that we share in the book are the 4 things that we are taught to give up early in relationships to get love or keep love. But what we insist are the last things you give up to get or keep love.
Until you know them.
Until you know people. Access to your body, access to your money, access to your home, and access to your heart, that is your emotional secrets and safety. But we are taught by movies, by books, by our peers, by our parents, Once you fall in love, you give up all of that. You throw open your legs, you throw open your doors, you throw open your wallet. You give up everything.
And you know you're in love based on how you feel.
Based on how you feel.
No.
And we're saying you know you're in love based on how you're treated. And it takes time to establish a pattern of treatment. And it takes time to know who this person is you're attracted to, which is different from what attracted you.
Yes.
And so the book goes into great detail about the difference between what a person is and who a person is. And it takes time to figure out who a person is. So no matter how you feel the first time you see that woman or that man, how good they look to you and how charming they are and how, how well dressed they are and their body and their hair and all those things that rightfully gets us excited when we meet someone we're attracted to. None of that tells you who that person is. And so we live in a kind of a microwave society that if she's down for you and you down for her, y'all just need to go for it. Why wait? And we're telling you, just look around you at the destruction of your own life or the lives of the people around you and think, man, if I had just taken like 6 or 7 or 10 months to really learn who this person is, would I have surrendered my body that quickly? Will I have surrendered access to my finances that quickly? Would I have moved them into my home, or would I have moved into their home that quickly? Because here's the deal. Those 4 things, if you withhold those things and the relationship doesn't work out, you risk almost no real damage to your life.
That's right. But think about just one of them. Any one of those 4 things, 10 months down the line, if you surrender any of those or open up your door to any of those, how those issues can compound.
Yes.
And the ripple effects that can happen as a result because you did not give yourself a chance to just enjoy them. If they're good, if the relationship is good and you're enjoying each other 3 weeks in, then look forward to 3 months in.
But just enjoy each other's company.
Look for just enjoy. If you decide, and here's the other part, because what many people, the issue with most people is the reason they engage in all those things, it's either because of not having any self-control, and that's never good. To not have any self-control over your parts and over your emotions is a problem. It's not that you so that's you letting somebody else fill a deficit of yours instead of you filling up that deficit yourself so that you are stronger as an individual to be able to make some better choices for yourself in a relationship. Because if you are surrendering emotionally to somebody you barely know, because early in a relationship you barely know them, then how much more equipped are you going to be able to do what you need to do once you're really in the relationship? And to establish some standards or draw some boundaries for that person. It makes it all the harder. Do the tough work in the beginning and give your relationship a chance.
And then if it doesn't work out, you can walk away from it before you get tied. Because the 4 things that we just talked about are the things that bond you to other people. Procreation, cohabitation, finances, and emotion are the 4 things that bond you to other people. In fact, if you allow yourself to be bonded in those 4 ways to a person, you in fact are married, even if you never got married.
It ain't, at that
because
point, it's
you are
not
now
about the
bonded
certificate.
together. And that's why breakups are often nastier and more damaging than divorces, because people are getting married without any of the protections of marriage. Because once you procreate, cohabitate, mingle your finances, and let yourself be emotionally vulnerable, you have, in fact, bonded yourself to another person. And don't even get me started to the people, and we don't judge people in the grown zone. We try to help them. But there are people who are bonded that way to 4 or 5 different people.
Come on.
That's right.
And then they wonder why their life is so disruptive and they're depressed and their life is chaotic because they're bonded to one person financially, another person sexually, another person emotionally, another person might live in their house or be a father to their child or mother to their child, and then they wonder why life is so chaotic.
Life can't but be hard.
You can save yourself a lot of drama in relationships if you just say, and that's what dating is for, by the way. I'm just spending time with you to get to know you.
That's it.
That's what it's for.
Wow.
I need to go back to that person because there's too many of them, and I don't want to leave you hopeless. Neither do I want to leave you feeling like you have to then walk in any kind of shame,
right,
or to feel like you have to defend yourself if that's you. This is not to say it's hopeless. Let me teach a little bit here because everything is energy. Yes. Everything. When you are, we talk about you being bonded to each one of those, to 4 different people in 4 different ways. It's all energy. Now, when you really get smart and understand that you are the owner, the possessor of your energy, and you take responsibility for how you distribute your energy. Yes. And you take responsibility for how you've even allowed yourself to be tied to those 4 different people and begin to unravel yourself from each one of them, then you have more control over you, and you don't have to keep making those kinds of decisions. You can make your next decision better when you fully understand how that everything is energy, and you have the not just the responsibility, but you have the power to be able to really harness the control of how you live and not continue on those kinds of destructive paths. That's why the Grown Zone exists. To be able to help people to get better control of how they distribute their energies.
Great information. I love it. Before we wrap up tonight's segment, I want to go ahead and get this last question in and get your thoughts on it. And it reads, how do you control an attraction that you may have for someone?
Listen, people say, well, I can't help who I fall in love with. And we already said that ain't really falling in love. But let's say it's true. You can't help who you're attracted to. But a grown person never surrenders responsibility for what to do about that attraction. So, again, we stress the difference between being an adult and being grown. A lot of messy decisions that you are making, you have the adult right to make. You have the adult right to meet somebody at 5 o'clock and be sleeping with them at 6 o'clock.
You sure do.
Because you just were attracted. So it's true, you can't necessarily control what your emotional reaction is going to be to people when you encounter them. Sometimes people just look the way you would fantasize your woman would look. You don't even know her. She just looks like what you've always dreamed about, and then you have an emotional reaction. But you have to understand the emotional reaction isn't to that person. It's to the fantasy in your head. Right. When people say, for example, I know most of my female friends love them some Idris Elba. They don't know Idris Elba. It's the fantasy in their head of Idris Elba. But if you're not careful, you'll go to a club, you'll meet a dude that looks just like Idris Elba, and you'll think, oh, my God, I'm in love.
I mean, how many times have you heard a woman say, he could hit it?
He could hit it. And what we're trying to say is that a grown person acknowledges the attraction. There's nothing wrong with being attracted to people. But then they say, but I am still owner of myself. I'm still owner of my emotions. I'm still owner of my thoughts. And I can decide how to react to my attraction to that person, whether it's no matter who you're attracted to, regardless of gender. So what we're saying is there's nothing wrong with feeling that you meet somebody and they're interesting and they're exciting and they're sexy, but you don't have to throw open the doors to your house. You don't have to throw open your legs. You don't have to throw open your wallet. You can say, hey, I'm attracted to this person. Let me get to know them.
That's right.
And either they'll bring those sustainer attributes. You'll discover that they're not only good looking and sexy, but they're loyal and they're trustworthy and they're emotionally safe. And then you can say, man, I'm attracted to them, and also we have those sustainer characteristics. Then you can say maybe we should move forward into a relationship. But guess what? That's not going to happen in 2 weeks. That's not going to happen in a couple of that. It takes time to observe someone. We say it takes time to investigate, observe. So we tell people wait, watch, and learn. And how long do you wait? However long it takes.
That's right.
And if you've been learning about a person and a year from now or 6 months from now you still don't have a clue, assume that they're not safe. Assume that they're not grown and back up.
or pay attention to those red flags. And your intuition. Don't dismiss your intuition. Your intuition is there for a purpose, and it usually is showing you that somebody is not saved. It tells you they're not saved. We all know what it's like to move forward in something and then go, oh, damn, I sure wish I hadn't done that.
But again, if you don't commit those 4 things we talked about, it's a lot easier to back off. It's harder to back off after you slept with the person.
That's right.
It's harder to back off after you moved into their house. It's harder to back off if you have a baby together. It's harder to back off if you co-signed on a car or something.
Yeah.
So again, it's going slow enough to allow those red flags to register and to at least investigate the red flags, and not overcommitting so that if you have to slow it down or even back it up, it's easier for you to do that. And again, we really have to resist society's pressing us, and women in particular. You're being pressured. You're being told, one, that you're not as valuable as a single person as you are if you're married, which is a lie.
Bull.
You're valuable because you exist. It doesn't matter whether you're single or married, but you got your mama and everybody else saying, when you going to get married? Why ain't you got a man? What's wrong with you? So, one, you got to resist that pressure. And two, you have to recognize that you are whole, happy, and good all by yourself. And that way you don't approach your relationships out of this kind of desperation that you got to legitimize yourself by having somebody on your arm. You really got to resist that, because that pressure is what gets so many women in trouble.
Every woman knows what it is to in retrospect, go, I cannot believe I let that joker get that close to me. Or worse, I cannot believe that I ended up doing what with that? Oh, Lord. Come on, let's stop doing this to ourselves. Don't do it.
Yes. Wow.
So there's nothing wrong with being attracted to your listener's question. We get attraction is what we're supposed to be.
It's natural.
It's natural.
The attractors are natural.
Grown is what you choose to do about it. And I'm talking to someone. I tell people I don't consider myself grown until about 6 years ago.
See?
Because my last marriage, I broke every one of these rules. I only knew the person very just as an acquaintance for a year. I didn't really know her. I started dating her, and then decided I was in love. 3 months later, I put a ring on her finger. 6 months later, we got married. And then I found out who she was.
and she found out who he was.
She found out who I was.
Neither one of them
was not happy. So that's why we tell people all the time, it's better to be single wishing you were married than to be married wishing you were single.
Yes, indeed.
Do not cave into the pressure of society, especially you women, that says, you better get married quick, fast, or in a hurry. There's something wrong with you.
Because let me tell y'all
something. There's nothing wrong with you
I
yourself.
got married twice very early. I was divorced 2 times by age 30, and then I got smart because I was listening to everybody else. And honey, let me tell you something. Life began when I as a single woman for me after those marriages and divorces. I got that out of my way, and my father came to me and said, "Baby, let me tell you something, because somehow I must have missed this. Just because they proposed don't mean you have to accept."
That's right.
And I've since had 4 proposals that I declined, not including my baby. Yeah, that ain't. I ain't know about that one. That one, and we're not married, by the way, but we will marry. But the emphasis of that, and the reason that we wrote this book was to have emphasis on healthy relationships, because people are not going to rush us to the altar. They're not going to make us go say I do because we've been together 5 years. Well, how long? Good Lord, how long y'all need to be together? We have a healthy relationship, so we don't have to rush to the altar.
In fact, when we get married, people ain't going to know about it. We're emphasizing, we're not promoting when we get married. Most people aren't going to know when we get married, because everybody knew when I got married. My marriage was covered in the media.
Wow.
So it's about marriage planning, not wedding planning.
And I can tell you this is a true story, because it was my parents. My parents actually were married for 17 years, divorced for 23, dated for 10 more years, and just married again this past January.
All right. Because the second time they knew who they were marrying.
Look, see?
That first time they was like, oh, wait. I thought I knew who I was marrying. The second time, I don't know if they're happy or they're unhappy, but they weren't surprised.
Yeah, well, they're happy.
They were like, I know what I did. I know who this person is.
Travel up for something now.
Right.
So,
And
yes,
a marriage is not supposed to be a surprise. A marriage is not supposed to be a surprise. We have a 50% plus divorce rate because people are rolling the dice like they're at the casino.
Yeah, they wake up, and I know what this is like. They wake up and say, who in the heck is this man next to me?
I know it.
I don't know this person. What have I done? Oh, Lord.
I know
That's one of the worst feelings in the world.
Wow. Well,
we're having such a good time with you, Kathy B. We're having such a good time with you.
I'm getting ready to say this, and I do hope that you both will accept. I have another show that I have here on Source Radio Network, which airs on Friday nights, which is the Ladies Lounge. I would love to have you all come back to the studio and talk to us on that show. That way we can continue this information and continue the conversation, and that will be great. But we have actually come up into the next hour for our next show. But I love speaking with you both. You shared some wonderful and amazing things. You gave us some great nuggets. And typically when we close out a segment, we usually ask for encouraging word or maybe some more quick advice that we did not state in tonight's conversation. If you're willing to do that for us, that would be great. If not, I certainly understand.
Well,
but
let me leave you with
that opportunity to you.
Yeah, let me leave you with the bottom line for why we wrote the book. It is a lie that you can't have a healthy, happy, drama-free relationship. It's not true. Yeah. You can have a healthy, happy, lasting, loving, drama-free relationship. And you have to start out believing that. And once you can believe that, then when you read Loving in the Grown Zone, go to lovinginthegrownzone.com. It tells you all the ways you can get the book. Then you will begin to get the tools to get that which all of us want. We just want a happy, drama-free, loving relationship.
And the only thing I want to say is to women, stop buying the lie that there are no good men, or all the good ones are taken, or there's this shortage, so you just can't get one. Well, here's what I believe. I believe that the universe is very balanced. The universe is balanced, and for quality people who know that they are of quality and they deserve somebody of quality, they're having no problem whatsoever attracting one another. For those who feel like there's a shortage of men and there are no good men and what they keep getting are no good men, what needs to change is them and their attitudes.
And their expectations.
Because a snake will go as low to the ground as it needs to go under a bar. So if that's where the bar is, ladies, raise it.
Ooh. Love it, love it. Well, I definitely have to have you back on the Ladies Lounge so we can continue this conversation. We'll send you some dates out and take a look at them. Let us know if you can come back, and I would love to have you back there if that's okay.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us. This has been a joy.
Yes.
Thank you so much. And how can we get more information about you and continue to support you in your efforts?
Go to grownzone.com. That is our website. But we really want people to get the most out of Grown Zone. So the entry is grownadvice.com.
And that'll invite you to our private Facebook group and give you some other free gifts and benefits to being in the Grown Zone.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here. It has been indeed a pleasure, and we look forward to having you back again real soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy B.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good night. Well, Source Nation, you heard it right there from Miss Zara Greene and Alfred Edmond Jr., and they are the co-authors of Loving in the Grown Zone, a nonsense guide to making healthy decisions in the quest for loving romantic relationships of honor, esteem, and respect. Love it. Man, great information, was it not? Information. You know, you have to look at relationships for what they are. And just as they said, you have to be willing to put that work in, but also understand if there are things there that's not right, then call it out to be. You know, make it black and white and simple. You know what it is that you desire to have in your relationship. You know that. So make those wise decisions. Again, that was Alfred Edmonds Jr. and Zara Greene, and they are the co-authors of the Loving in the Grown Zone. All their information and more can be found on Kathy B, Source Radio Network, and our main station page, Source Radio Network. Well, we are at the end, but we're not done yet. That's right. We have Parents and Teens Talk with Chevonna Johnson coming up in the next hour, and so you don't want to miss that. That, again, is Parents and Teens Talk with Chevonna Johnson. Going to take a quick break, and Chevonna Johnson and Parents and Teens Talk on the other side. We'll be right back.
We'll be back, Source Radio Network, after this commercial break.
Source Nation, join us 7 days a week Eastern Standard Time for Everything with Kathy B. On Mondays, join us from 6 to 7 for Love Zone Mondays with Kathy B. From 7 to 8, we have Love Zone Mondays with Kathy B. and co-host Dr. D. Yvonne Young. From 8 to 9, join us for Parents and Teens Talk with Chevonna Johnson. On Tuesdays, join us from 6 to 8 for Sports Tuesdays with Steve Manderson. And from 8 to 9, we have HBCU Sports with host Sunny D. Tune in as Sunny D brings you the latest highlights from your favorite HBCUs. On Wednesdays from 6 to 7, we have Power Over Tomorrow with our resident financial advisor, Tyrone S. Mitchell. From 7 to 8 is World News with Ami Smith. And from 8 to 9, join us for the Great Griot with host Kay Lachey. On Thursdays, join us for our Healthy Cooking and Living segment. At 6, we have Turn Your Dish Around with Chef L. Tune in as Chef L shares a holistic approach that shows you how to turn your old dishes into a healthy work of art. Join us at 7 for Healthy Living with our resident naturopathic physician, Dr. Jalisa. From 7:30 to 8, join us for Total Life Changes with Kathy B. On Fridays, join us from 6 to 8 in the Ladies Lounge with Kathy B. And from 8 to 9, we have Fly Radio with host Latoya Johnson. On Saturdays, join us for 2 amazing shows with host James Johnson. From 2 to 4, we have Indie Soul Saturdays. And from 4 to 5, join us for our entertainment show, UGD Live. Finally, every Sunday evening, join us for Mailbox Sundays. From 6 to 7, join us for It's Your Time, Personal Development with Dr. Jackson, as he equips you with the necessary tools that will enable you to maintain discipline, knowledge, and continuous growth. From 7 to 8, join us for Renaissance Relationship Therapy with life coach Tim T, as he shares relationship views that will inspire, enlighten, change, and even surprise you on what you thought about your relationships. And finally, from 8 to 9, join us for Practical Principles for Kingdom Living with Pastor Kenny Smith. Tune in as Pastor Smith shares principles designed to help build your relationship with God and others. Join us 7 days a week here on Source Radio Network.
Integrity, leadership, vision, character, and educate are the few words to explain the platform for Parents and Teens Talk with Chevonna Johnson. Our mission is to motivate our youth and parents, to define their vision and create opportunities to help them meet their proposed destinies. Parents and Teens Talk will establish a true relationship between the two and encourage and nurture a loving relationship for now and the future. Source Nation, join us live on Monday nights at 8 p.m. for Parents and Teens Talk with Chevonna Johnson, heard only on Source Radio Network.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is your host, Chevonna Johnson, and you're listening to Parents and Teens Talk. I'm very excited to have you. This is a show that creates dialogue for parents and teens concerning today's issues. But before we go any further into our topic of internship tonight, I want to take a moment to thank our sponsors who have made this possible. That is Blog Talk Radio, Cat Photography, and His Masters. My name is Chevonna Johnson. I am the CEO and founder of the Whitney E. Johnson Foundation. It's a 501c organization. We provide mentoring, tutoring, counseling services to struggling academic students here in the Long Island, New York area. I am also the CEO and CFO of All About Us Youth magazine. We help young people focus on the true relationship with themselves, and we help them explore and develop a greater respect to fulfill their destiny in changing the world. And we talk about the importance of integrity, leadership, vision, character, and education. Tonight, we really just want to focus on just you. We want to focus on you and life, just breathe and relax, because today is a day of greater opportunity for us to really focus. And a couple weeks ago, I had asked everyone to really, think about their vision, to write their vision. It is so important in order for you to fly, in order for you to live, in order for you to achieve everything that you're doing, to write that vision. If you want to share your visions with us, I would like for you to send them to our email at aau.customerservice@gmail.com. I also want you to start mapping out your vision board. Your vision board is the one thing key that is going to help you reach those goals and achieve. And make sure you put your vision statement in the middle of it. I don't care how old you are. This year, if you're living and breathing, there's something in you to give to this world. And in order for us to achieve and break that glass ceiling this year, we really, really need to focus on who we are and where we're going and what we want to accomplish. I would just want you to just believe that every opportunity is a gateway, but we just have to learn to realize what door that opens is a door for our opportunity, for us to better ourselves, and is it the right door? So the quote that I found for today was, always end the day with a positive thought. No matter how hard things were, tomorrow is a fresh day for opportunity to make it better. So each day, even though we're going through, always know that it is always tomorrow, if it's not promised, but it is a day to make it better. Tonight, really quickly, I just want you to know in Black History as today, Frederick Douglass, he was a freedom fighter. I want you to take a moment to read several of his autobiographies and his experience through slavery, abolishing slavery. We have to really look at Black history and know and understand who we are as a people and focus and help our children understand who they are. So Frederick Douglass was my favorite Black writer. His books are very empowering, and I want you to research him and just take a look at all the works that he has done. Tonight, our guest is Miss At.Latoya Wilson. She is going to be coming forward to discuss with us internships. So I want you to call in and ask questions, and you can call us in at 619-924-0933. Press option 1 if you have any questions or would like to make a comment. So on the other side of this commercial, we will be right back with Chevonna, Parents and Teens Talk, and speaking with myself and Miss Latoya Wilson.
Source Nation, stay with us. We'll be right back with more Parents and Teens Talk with Chevonna Johnson.
Source Radio Network is just one of the many platforms that is used to fulfill dreams of our listeners and create a purpose that will impact the lives of our communities, cities, and the world. It is often said that great things will happen when a group of driven people work together to accomplish one goal. We're giving people the opportunity to have a voice, translate words that haven't been heard, and paint pictures that no one has seen. Source Radio Network is fueling your life's purpose. How can you listen? www.blogtalkradio.com/Source Radio.
La la, la la, la la. Gonna take my baby out tonight. 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 Oh yeah. And all the guys will be saying, oh, I wish that she was mine. 'Cause my baby, she is looking fine. Yes, my baby, she is looking fine. We're gonna be dancing, we're gonna be dancing, dancing on the reggae boogaloo tonight. We're gonna be dancing, we're gonna be skanking, skanking on the reggae boogaloo tonight. Gonna ask the DJ to play our special songs. 'Cause when we hit the dance floor, it's gonna cause a commotion. When my baby gets in the groove, she's the best, she's second to none. When my baby hits the dance floor, everyone is gonna join the fun. We're gonna be dancing, we're gonna be dancing, dancing on the reggae boogaloo tonight. We're gonna be dancing, we're gonna be skanking, skanking on the reggae boogaloo tonight. La la, la la, la la, la la, la la. La la, la la. The DJ to play our special songs. 'Cause when we hit the dance floor, it's gonna cause a commotion. When my baby gets in the groove, she's the best, she's second to none. When my baby hits the dance floor, everyone is gonna join the fun. We're gonna be dancing, we're gonna be dancing, dancing on the reggae boogaloo tonight. We're gonna be dancing, we're gonna be skanking, skanking on the reggae boogaloo tonight. We're gonna be dancing, we're gonna be dancing, dancing on the reggae boogaloo tonight. We're gonna be dancing, we're gonna be skanking, skanking on the reggae boogaloo tonight.
Source Nation, welcome back to Parents and Teens Talk with Chevonna Johnson.
Welcome back, Source Nation. As I stated before the break, our special guest tonight is Miss At.Latoya Wilson. She is from Rebuild Workforce Project. It is her organization, as well as just her job working within the college with the young people. It's just so much I could say about this beautiful young lady. At.Latoya Wilson got her first start in the field of workforce in economic development as an intern in D.C. She provided assistance in creating training courses that involves creating relationships between workforce and economic development professionals. She worked in the reentry programs, K through 16, institutions educating individuals how to enter the 21st century job market in the importance of training a higher-paying career. She also provided academic advisement and taught freshman courses. Such experience, along with her human resource degree, caused her to understand that the building coalitions is essential in preparing the struggling workforce, regardless of their past or current circumstances. I just want to thank Miss At.Latoya Wilson for joining us tonight. Miss Wilson, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Good evening. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and join us tonight. And as I read a little bit about your bio, give us a little more about yourself before we get into our conversation.
Okay, sure. Actually, Rebuild Workforce and the college are two different things. My everyday job is a college, but actually Rebuild Workforce is something I started with a passion from my experience as a young college student, where I used to think, an education alone will allow me to get the job, so I didn't take things seriously. So my goal was to, let me help other young people like myself, so that way they won't make the same mistakes I did, so that way they can go further in their life. Because I could tell you this right now, with the lack of preparation that I've had, I definitely endure a lot of struggles in my life, and I definitely want to prevent other young people from doing the same thing I did.
Wow. It's a lot to get into, especially in the 21st century workforce. And I know that in your experience now, in the knowledge that you have gained and what you're going to pass on to us and explain about what you do. Now, you're also an instructor too, correct? You said an instructor. What do you teach?
I used to teach freshman seminar, but right now I teach job readiness in college.
Okay, so you're teaching job readiness. Now, what class is that? What does that entail?
It entails resume writing, how to interview, how to network in the 21st century, and, how to dress, how to speak with employers, how to follow up, the most important things to get into this type of job market.
Now, when you look at the way today in the 21st century market, and I know that you're young, some of us, practices of yesterday, what has really changed? What's really changed about the job market between the 21st century and the 19th and the 21st century? What has really changed?
A lot. Well, first, 20 years ago, you go to the one ad, circle the one ad, go to the job, apply in person, talk to the person. You possibly will get hired, stay in that one job for long term, collect, retirement once you're done, and then that's it. Now, you have to be a lot more creative in how you market yourself, and not to mention, employers are using a lot of technology in recruiting. So even if you put in an online application, yes, you have to fill in an online application, it's always good to follow up, because a lot of times the application is lost in the shuffle. So you always want to follow up. You have to attend networking events, do a lot of volunteering, consulting, anything that can get an attention of a potential employer. So you're going to have to do a lot more legwork compared to you had to do 20 years ago.
Got you. Now, also, you are the CEO and founder of Rebuild Workforce Project. Now, just a little synopsis of what what really led you to Rebuild Workforce, as you already explained a little bit, and what is your foundation about?
Okay, well, Rebuild Workforce obviously geared towards rebuilding those that were struggling and that didn't have the skills, and to encourage them that regardless of your situation, you have a potential of earning higher wage career or start a business of your own. So pretty much our mission is to empower potential leaders to not only recognize their talent so they could become leaders and decision makers. The reason why that's important, if you look at Ferguson, not enough police officers that understand the community. One of the things I want to do is encourage young people, you know what, why don't you become police officers, become judges, become attorneys. So it's pretty much encouraging them to think about a career, not just a job, but a career.
I got you. I understand. A lot of us, as a youth and as someone graduating from high school right now, because we have to go back there, because really it's about encouraging our young people to focus on professions that they would otherwise not even look into. As you mentioned, officer, becoming a lawyer, becoming a judge. And our young people don't focus on those things because they focus on things that they see that they may think that are attainable because it's easy. They don't want challenges, and they don't look towards the future as, how it is going to affect our communities. And it is good for, like what we do at the foundation. We bring in professionals to introduce them to things or ideas that they would not otherwise think of, or be encouraged to even look at that profession. So I see your work that you're doing. You're doing awesome work. It's just, a blessing to, have met you and to sit down and engage and have a conversation with you, because you just touched on something that's a whole nother topic. But it's important for young people to explore these jobs and focus in even thinking about going into that profession. And, that's something that I never thought about in that, I'm glad you touched on that, because it's very important. Your mission in Rebuild, tell us a little bit about your mission and your services that you do at Rebuild Workforce.
Okay, sure. One of the things that we're looking to do is work with any programs that service hard to employ. When I mean by hard to employ, those who are formerly incarcerated, other groups that would normally be shut out into careers, as well as at-risk youth. So one of the things I want to advise is how the changes in the economy will constantly impact your ability of obtaining a career, and how do you prepare for it. We provide workshops for any clients or students into how to enter and grow into a career of your dreams. Despite your economic situation, despite whether if you had a record. And I definitely want to speak for those who were in reentry. True, you're limited to certain careers, which is why I also advocate, it's never too late to start your own business. There are many other careers you can get into. I know folks who were formerly incarcerated and managed to contribute to their community, earn bachelor's, master's degree, and still, were able to earn, decent salaries. I'm also willing to create educational programs, events, especially for youth, because, they need that visual stimulation. One of the things that I'm definitely looking to do is a career carnival, because it's more to just tell the students, okay, have a presentation. Okay, this is what the workforce look like. This is how the careers are like. But I actually want them to really demonstrate what to expect in a career so they can at least have a better idea. You know, and one of the things we also wanted to work with is elected officials, because we do need effective policies in place in schools that will hopefully help these kids to become more prepared for the 21st century job market. And also put in more career readiness in K-12, which I think that's also important. You know, and for those who were like me, graduated college, struggling, don't know where to go, don't know how to find a career, I'm also willing to help those too.
You know, it's amazing that you mentioned kindergarten, because kindergarten now is, you know, now they take that test. We won't get too much into it, but that is the key testing is now. It used to be fourth grade, but they lowered the level to kindergarten. And that's when they start building the jail cells off of those kindergarten numbers from the testing that they do in Common Core. That's a whole other issue, which, you know, we'll be talking about in the future. But today we're going to focus on internships and the workforce. And I was just so impressed with what you were doing and how, you know, we could work together, but especially in speaking with the youth and as well talking with parents who may have gone back to college, who are, you know, now in college, who are about to go into internships. Now, internships, explain what an internship is, just in case, you know, somebody listening, what it is, what it means to them, and how important it is that even as a student looking at professions are not thinking about going into a particular profession, how important it is for a parent to get them active, especially to volunteer, to do an internship, to get them to think about what type of profession they want to go into.
Sure. Okay, great. So an internship, what it allows students to do is, especially if they're in an educational program or they're looking to get into the career, what it is they either work into a job of their choice or career of their choice. Is either paid or unpaid. Even if it's unpaid, they may earn college credit. So what it's allowing them to do is to learn the career and to obtain some type of experience. Typically, what a manager will do is they will allow them to do like different projects. Sometimes they may have to create a portfolio for their professor. So anything that will allow them to get that on-the-job experience. Now, a lot of students will say, well, I need to get paid. I don't want to do anything for free. I understand that. However, what you really need is that experience, because what happens is when you're finishing or when you're completing an educational program, a lot of times a job wants you to have at least a year or 2 years of experience. What an internship will allow you to do is an employer understand you're just coming out of college. So it's pretty much like, I would call it like an apprenticeship, where you're learning on the job and you're able to put that into a resume. And normally undergrads, you don't get paid, but you earn credits. But I would think grads, sometimes you do get paid. However, the most important thing is you're earning credit from that internship and you're earning experience.
Let's go a little bit into high school, because in the beginning we talked about the 21st century workforce. And I had to tap into social media a little bit, because a lot of youth do not understand how social media is going to affect even parents, even adults who are on the job, how they utilize social media, how they talk on social media, how they interact on social media, who they interact with on social media can also affect them from not going to a particular college, Not only that, affect them of not getting a particular job because they research what you do on social media. So why don't you talk about a little bit about that and to explain to our youth who are getting into this workforce, explain to them what they do today will affect them. It's like a blueprint that will follow them the rest of their life.
Wow. Okay, social media. Facebook. Let's start with Facebook because I have young cousins all the time that I look at their Facebooks and I always tell them, please delete that off your Facebook. Please correct that spelling. Here's what happens. It's good to have Facebook. I'm not going to say do not have a Facebook because you can connect with interested individuals on Facebook. I know I use my Facebook whenever I need to make some type of connections with my programs, and you do get a lot of events that are posted on your Facebook, a lot of event invites. However, one thing you want to do is be mindful on what you post on Facebook. Here's why. Because what happens is after an interview, a lot of times an employer will research your Facebook to determine if you have an image that will match their company. Because remember, in the end of the day, they're worried about their reputation. So if they find any incriminating information, any incriminating photos on there, that can prevent you from getting the job. And even if you delete it, there's ways that they can find it because it's there forever. And here's what I always tell my students. If you have a photo or something that you don't want your parents or your grandparents to see, and believe it or not, they are getting Facebooks as well. I know because I created a Facebook for my grandmother, unfortunately, a year before she passed. But the point is, they're getting Facebooks as well. You may want to just delete it, because in the end of the day, nothing is private. I could give you another story. I know someone who said, as a teacher, he was saying that, he do not mind having his students on his Facebook. Why? Because he will only post educational information on Facebook. Another woman replied, yeah, but I don't want nobody to see, my mom's photo on Facebook. His reply was, well, you know what? Take it off because guess what? I don't care how private your page is. It's not private. It's public entity. So anything that you can post will affect you on whether you're getting a job or not. People have gotten arrested through Facebook. It could definitely damage your reputation years and years down the line.
That is so true. And I have to say this, Source Nation, if you're just tuning in, you're listening to Monday Night's Parents and Teens Talk with your host, Chevonna Johnson, and our special guest, Ms. At.Latoya Wilson from Rebuild Workforce Project. And if you want to ask the question, you can, or questions or make comments concerning this topic, you can call in at 619-924-0933 and press option 1. And as we were talking about, Latoya, you were talking about social media, but also colleges are using Facebook and other social media entities to search you now. And a lot of the students that I mentor, I tell them all the time, be careful what pictures you place on social media. Who do you connect with? Even on Instagram. It's not just Facebook. It's Instagram. There's so many pages that you can have that they are one. Twitter, yes, Twitter. Twitter's a good one. Once you put it out there on social media, it is in cyberspace. And who owns cyberspace?
Yes, it's there forever.
Forever. Okay, Latoya, I have to say we have a question from our chat room. Is there any way you can go and clean up things that you have posted in the past that could be detrimental to you in the future?
Yes, I would definitely say just go ahead and delete as fast as you can before you start applying for jobs, maybe. Because believe it or not, there are some employers that may not do that much research where they're going to also be searching for things that were no longer there. So even if you just go ahead and delete it now, I believe you should be fine. I mean, unless you're going for a high-tech job, then, hopefully they don't have a programmer searching for something that you have posted in the past. But for the most part, if you just wipe it, clean slate, just have only appropriate pictures at this point, and then start applying for jobs, you should be fine.
And one thing I also have to stress to parents, I get calls all the time from the courts where I have to go and with pens, people in need of supervision, where a lot of our youth, they think, these young girls, they think it's cool to place these pictures on social media because a guy asked them to place it on social media. I cannot stress it enough that how important it is that your body is your body is your body, and it should not be all over social media because that's how they bully one another. And they share these pictures, and it becomes so detrimental. But I'm just curious, though. I would have to do a show about this and have an expert come on to talk about social media and really, not saying you're not, you're how.
No, I
really
understand. Oh, yeah, because there's a lot of information, a lot more information that students need to know. And, there's definitely someone who, obviously have that high-tech knowledge who will know, how to be able to, get rid of certain pictures or, which type of companies are searching for those type of pictures and which are not. So I think that's definitely a good idea.
Yes. I want to expose and talk to parents, especially about, social media and impress upon the young people how important it is now, especially when you go for a job, and we're going to get into internships and resumes, how important it is to write, to learn to write, even on social media. The one thing, when I go out to speak to the youth and, we connect and they talk to me, they talk in the lingo of Twitter. They talk in the lingo of texting. They talk in the lingo, any lingo on Instagram. They talk in a certain lingo. And I try to impress upon them how important it is to write out complete sentences. So, Ms. Wilson, I want you to, as a teacher, as a human resource coordinator, please express and tell us how important it is to write in complete sentences.
Yes, very, very important because, first of all, writing skills and communication skills is very, very important in the 21st century workforce. Because, 20, and that's another difference. 20 years ago, you would have one person controlling a whole operation. Now, you have different managers that are expecting you to be the team leader. So you have to not only be able to communicate more effectively, you have to be able to write reports, you have to be able to present in front of executives, depending on what position you're in. So once you're not writing or practicing your writing skills, obviously it gets worse. And so by you writing incomplete sentences, what you're allowing yourself to do is improving upon those skills so that way you can be ready once you get into your career.
I remember we worked together, you came out to speak to the young girls, you did a presentation, and I loved how you put it together because you talked about certain key words that you use opposed to words that you don't use. If you just give us a little example so that those that are listening that are about to write their resume are searching for an internship, how to perfect that writing.
Well, first thing is you want to look at what employers are looking for, and that's in the job description. They will tell you everything that they want in an employer. And keep in mind, you don't want to use one resume for every single job you apply for. What you're going to do is you're going to constantly adapt that resume based on what each employer is looking for. I mean, I could tell you this right now. When I was searching for jobs, I had 30 resumes on file. And I'm talking, it's not all different type of industry. It's the only one type of industry. It's just that each employer requires something different. Now, as far as keywords, there's a lot out there. But some of the main words, as example, are coordinated, managed, organized, all kinds of keywords. So all you have to do really is Google keywords resume. And I did notice that there are some sites where they do categorize keywords based on a profession that you're getting into. So obviously, if you're getting into accounting, they gear towards keywords into accounting. Another source is onetonline.org, onetonline.org. If you look under task list, that's another great way of finding keywords.
Okay. You said ONET, O-N-E-T?
ONETONLINE.
.org?
.org.
Okay, and you can look up a task list as far as words that they should, keywords that they should insert and write in their resume?
Exactly. And the reason why I say this is very important is because, you know, a lot of employers, some of them will read and it only take them 5 seconds to read, but others are scanning them into a computer system. Once those keywords match, that's what they use to call you in for an interview.
Wow. Everything is so sophisticated now.
Exactly. So between the job description, all the examples that you're going to need is in that job description. And then you research keywords. Remember, they're all action words. So, you know, so make sure you research that gear towards exactly the industry that you're looking for in the job description, and then you word your resume based on that.
Wow. I just never, you know, it's just amazing how technology is taking us into the 21st century. It used to be interviews and, you know, how the interview would go and the interest of connect to see how well you would fit in within that organization. But now things are just, the 21st century is really taking on a whole new look. Where can someone who is putting their resume together, where can they perfect resume online to follow?
To follow, there are resume sites. You could go into Career Builder and actually send your resume, and there are some people that I can make suggestions, or some professionals that can make some suggestions of your resume. There's many, many free sites you can go to. You know, you could check your public library. They may have someone that can also help you with your resume. If you graduate, if you have a college degree, you know, you could check your alumni to see if they have a career service. A lot of times you're able to use their career service even years after graduation. So there are definitely many sources you can go to.
Oh, okay. Wow. Also, as you know, you began earlier, you talked about the reentry program. As far as young people who have possibly, you know, gotten in trouble in their early years and now have gone to college, have attained their degree. You know, I have noticed lately, especially, you know, with the news, they're talking about the new reentry program that they have available. But also I have noticed that businesses are also taking a look at people who have been incarcerated, who have been like business-minded, who they're taking on the of now training them to become great business leaders.
Oh yes, definitely. Because what happened is that they're recognizing that there's a skills shortage. So more and more companies are starting to look at those who were once incarcerated but led productive lives and to give them chances. You also got to understand, too, some states are passing ban the box legislation, which is allowing those to get into the front door. One thing I always advise those when I go into the prison is that, listen, take advantage of as many educational programs while you're in here. You can earn a college degree in prison and then get some type of experience. That will definitely make you seem very positive and productive in the eyes of employers.
I noticed, as I've been working with other organizations as well on the reentry task force, because that is becoming a big thing to re-employ those who have incarcerated, have cleaned up their act, but have found it hard to get in the door. So I just think that everybody should get a second chance in life. Everybody should have an opportunity, to prove themselves. And I just think that is an exceptional program that they're doing and within the communities as well. But, also I want to go back to internships a little bit for the youth. And how would they start to prepare their resume? Because you have someone maybe who's listening, whose parent is listening and saying, how can I put their resume together to maybe they want to become a lawyer. Maybe they want to go into design. Now, how do I put their resume together if they haven't yet had a job? How can I start putting their resume together to package them? And also, how important it is to write a cover letter.
Sure. Believe it or not, experience is not necessarily a paid job. It could be an experience you have if you volunteer. Even if you worked on different projects that you take a lead on, that's when you could start using words like managed. You managed a science project, or you were a great team player because you were in a group project in high school. You kind of got to take a look at all the experiences you had while you were in high school. And like I said, it does not have to be paid. It could be anything that you've done that is productive. Even if you were on a sporting team, obviously you learn hard work and being a team player. That's another thing. Something that you can always put on your resume. And you'll be amazed at how many people don't realize that volunteer work is as much value as paid job. So people tend to not put that in their resume, and guess what? There's a skill gap, or in their minds, but I don't have any experience, so there's no way I can apply for anything. And one thing about interns is they understand that they're getting young people that don't have much experience and that are trying to get experience. Because remember, part of the internship is they're mentoring and grooming young people. So especially while you're young, definitely take advantage of that. But most importantly, just think back at, any any projects that you've worked on, if you were in a play, anything that allow you to use your communication, your writing skills. So you can definitely include that in a resume. And if you go on a template, there is a template for resume writing for somebody that's coming out of high school. Now, cover letter, one thing you have to understand is that if an employer requires a resume, they're not going to accept your resume unless you have a cover letter. Cover letter pretty much introduces who you are, why are you applying for the position. If you talk about your skills, you should talk about your skills in a second paragraph, not exactly repeating exactly what's on your resume, but enhance what's on your resume. I would say do a little bit of bragging of the accomplishments that you've made. And most importantly, on that third paragraph, make sure you thank the employer and write something in line of, if you have any questions or would like to schedule an interview, please contact me at, even if your phone number is on top, write your phone number again. So it only needs to be one page, a 3-paragraph. Now, one thing I always tell my students is to each his own. I never have a set rule of, how long is a resume or how long is a cover letter, although you don't want like a 20-page resume and all you need is a 1-page cover letter, but every employer requires different things. I mean, for an example, my dad is a vice president of HR, and he would tell me, listen, I barely read cover letters. If you just write introduction and your number, I will call you. Other people will want to, just have like a good detailed information. So one thing I would definitely tell you to do is just, the main thing is make sure everything that employer is looking for is in that resume, in that cover letter. The keywords are there and the grammar is on point. As far as the resume, make sure everything is the same. So for instance, if you're using bullet points for the task list, use bullet points throughout.
Okay, good point. Okay. So be consistent throughout the resume as far as bullet points and whatever you're using, just be consistent with continuing it throughout the resume.
Exactly.
Okay, I got you. Also, what is a good way for parents to explore internships? I mean, I know they, pick up the phone and call, but is there a website, or they could go on to their local schools, or how would they go about finding what is good and what is going to fit for their child, for their youth that's applying for internship?
Definitely. First source is definitely the school. The library typically have a list of internships. Also, every profession has an international or a national organization. So, like, for instance, I'm part of National Association for Workforce Development Professional. So, obviously, I could go in there and they have a list of potential internships or, a list of membership that may offer internship to a young